chapter 35, verse 30, where he's saying that Moshe said to the children of Israel, look, Hashem has called in the name of Betzal, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, from the tribe of Judah. So let's see what this means. So Rashi says, hold on, let me make him a co-host. Okay, so Rashi says, what does this mean? Rashi says, Hur was the son of Miriam. Now we already know that Hur was a son of Miriam. So the footnote here explains that when the Torah identifies somebody by name, it usually mentions the name of his father and his tribe. And here, Rashi is telling us that the Torah is telling us that Betzal, not only by his father, but by his grandfather, because his grandfather was so special. Who was his grandfather? Hur. Alternatively, Rashi is explaining why did Moshe have to say Hashem is called Betzalel instead of just appointing him? So by pointing out that Moshe was Betzalel's uncle, Rashi is telling us that Moshe was trying to avoid charges of nepotism, which will come later on in Moshe's life. So by not hiding that he was his uncle, he said this, put all the facts out there at the beginning. But the truth is that there's a lot more going on here, because the Midrash tells us that Hur was killed at the time of the golden calf, that he tried to stop the golden calf, and then he was killed. So therefore, we could see this as a way of giving honor to his name. I once heard a teaching that who were the two people? I don't want to say who the rabbi who taught this, because he was very charismatic. I once took a group of kids to this rabbi. I was very impressed with this rabbi. He took a group of teenagers, maybe. How old am I now? 49. So maybe I was 25. So maybe it would be, or 26. So maybe 23 years ago. Took a group of kids to see this rabbi. I was very impressed with the brilliance of this rabbi. And he said, Aaron and Hur represented they each held up Moshe's hands. Aaron held up one hand, and Hur held up the other hand. And Aaron and Hur represented two sides of the Jewish people. Aaron was known for his peace, and Hur was known for his zealotry. So you need both of these aspects, the peace and the fire. And they held them up. And I remember that. But then, right after I left that, maybe within 6 months, the scandal about the rabbi started coming out, that he was doing things he wasn't supposed to, and it was a whole big scandal.
What was he doing?
When there's a rabbi, the scandal, nobody really cares about money, so they really care about the sexual problems. Like if he took a few dollars, then it wouldn't be it wouldn't be good, but it wouldn't be.
Scandal if you took some of the shul money, let's say
I'd say people.
Let's say you went over to the push draft and dominating, pocketed.
I don't think it would have been good, but I don't think it would have been something that people were talking about all over the world. People would be like, he needs the money. So they're like, he needs the money, so let him take it. Yeah.
So you still teach his Torah, or?
I didn't say his name because
Still.
I don't know. I try not to say his name. And actually, this is the only time, this is the only thing I ever remembered that he said from that meeting. That's the only thing I ever remember. This is the first time I ever cited something that he said.
Because that's a question when people are in trouble, if you still continue.
Well, the Talmud cites the positions of Elisha ben Avua, but they call him Acher. They call him the other one, as after he became a heretic. It wasn't that he did something. Anyway, I don't know. Once we start not accepting people because of their teaching, not citing things because of the person who taught them,
Rish Luckish was a highway robber.
Right, I was gonna, but then he himself repented, but I'm saying that if we stop citing people because of the sins they committed, where do you draw the threshold? What type of sin? There's a lot of people who've done a lot of sins, and there's some people, everybody's done some sins, so the level of sins is not the same for everyone. So we have to draw a line, and all of a sudden we start, so I don't know, I don't want to spend all my energy on it. I mean, I guess the big question is, do you go to Wagner's symphonies? Don't worry, I've never been there, it's not my thing. And I read the books of the people, even if they're bad, because you can learn from everyone. Even from the people who are disgusting, you could, there's something you can learn. So I'm not afraid of learning something from a bad person, but I don't have to cite their name because that could be hurtful to the victims of the people. With this rabbi, there's a whole court, a whole rabbinical court of the top rabbis, and they came and they condemned him. But then after he did that, the problem with him is that his followers still follow him, even though like the greatest rabbis in Israel said he's a problem. No, I don't want to say the name of the person. By the way, unfortunately, I don't want to say the name. If I wanted to say the name, I would have said it by now. Unfortunately, there's not just one rabbi who this could apply to. So that's just the way of the world. Okay, we have to do the best we can. Anyway, so Hur, that's what I was saying. That Hur represents this firebrand who was killed because of his ideals and his beliefs and his passions. But he went too far. He should have known when to fold, live to fight another day, like Aaron, because Aaron folded and then he recuperated. Okay, so now it says about him, what do you say about that guy? This is your first time that you're hearing this. So do you have anything to add?
No,
Okay.
it's quite clear.
Okay, good.
We need fire and peace.
Yeah, we need fire and peace. By the way, I now heard the story of how you ended up in Israel. Our friend Joey told me that your brother Yannick was in school in Texas. He went from Rwanda. Tell me if I get this right. He went from Rwanda to Texas, and he was so supportive of Israel as a student in Texas that AIPAC was sending him all over the world to speak. Right? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And then Joey heard about this, and Joey said, I want to help you study in Israel. And then I guess you went to Israel because you saw your brother went there and he liked it. Yeah. So that's and now guy's brother is now responsible for Rwanda being so pro-Israel in the United Nations because he's in the embassy in in DC. We got one country supporting us, Rwanda.
A lot more.
All right. Okay, here we go. What? Yeah, no, we have more than one country, but most of the United Nations is unfortunately with the other side. Okay, so now let's verse 31. God filled him with wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Okay, we'll skip a little because we're only going to do the Rashis. Ulahorot Natan Belibo, and he gave him the ability to teach him. V'Eliyav ben Achisamach. Eliyav does not. There's no university, I don't think, in Israel called Eliyav. There's a university called Betzalel, the Hebrew University of Art. Yes, I never heard of the Eliyav University. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Some of our YouTube listeners, yeah.
Do you know why Ahaliyav's name in the Hebrew?
What does it mean?
The vowels under his name.
Ahaliyav.
Right. You see
I think they're a little longer, is that what you're saying? Jim?
Yes, only.
Those are just longer kamatzes, that means that it's set aw, it's pronounced aw.
Both of them?
Yes,
Um.
V'aha liav is his name.
Yeah.
V'aha liav. V'aha liav.
Okay. Never noticed that before, so.
Yeah. So let's see what it says about him. Mishevet Dan. He was from the tribe of Dan. Mina Yerudin Shebeshvatim. He was from the lowest of the tribes. Mibnei Ashvachot, of the sons of the maidservants. Ve'yeshvahu amakom u'betzal u'melechat hamishkan. but God elevated him to the level of Bezalel. Thank you for the creation of the Mishkan. V'hu migdolei hashvatim, and he was one of the greatest of the tribes. A nobleman is not recognized ahead of the pauper. So what we're saying is Bezalel comes from, there's another reason why we say Bezalel comes from Hur, from the tribe of Judah. He was from the royalty, the highest lineage. And who was his partner? Oliah from the tribe of Dan. Dan was a son of the maidservant, the lowest of the tribes. And yet we're saying that before God, everybody is equal. That's the message. Beautiful, powerful message.
And they also walked last in the Midbar. Judah was
Dan
first, and
yeah,
Dan
they
was
were the
last.
ones. They were the ones
Oh,
who.
they the snake symbol?
Yes, but they were the ones whose job it was to collect the lost objects because they came last. Now, I think you could correct me if I'm wrong. That the Ethiopian Jewish community claims that they come from the tribe of Dan.
Yeah.
And the reason is one of the reasons why is because in the 9th century, you'll find this interesting, guy. Or maybe not the 9th. You could look it up. Tell me the exact century. Maybe it was the 12th or 13th. There was a person who was going around saying he was the Messiah, and he was the whole Jewish community. The majority of it was no. Shabtai Tzvi was the 17th century. I'm talking about Eldad Hadani, Eldad of Dan. And he was black. The sources say he was black. And he was going around he came from Africa, and he was saying he's the Messiah. And the Jews were all worked up about him. And they many rabbis thought he was the Messiah. You can look him up. I don't know what years he was exactly. Maybe the 12th century. What does it say?
It says 9th century, like you said.
9th century. I should always go with my first thing. 9th century. 9th century. And he went around, and they were all worked up. And so the Ethiopian Jews say, like, we're connected to him from the tribe from Eldad Adani. But the problem is that when they came to see, he was kind of Eldad Adani after he didn't bring the redemption, he was kind of discredited as the Messiah. But so then the Ethiopian Jews, when they went to move to Israel, the rabbi said they came from Solomon. But they didn't say they came from Solomon. They said they came from Eldad Adani. Anyway. Yes. Did I cut somebody off? Oh, what do you have for us? 9th century?
Jewish traveler and philologist,
Philologist.
probably from South Arabia. Professed to be a citizen of an independent Jewish state named East Africa.
Oh, is he Yemenite?
Wait, where's Rwanda? No, East Africa. East Africa.
Yeah.
Is that Rwanda?
Two countries. East Africa is in the region of.
He's from South
What?
Arabia?
It's in the region.
Of Rwanda. He came from Rwanda.
No, in the region.
I mean, from that area.
This says he probably was from South Arabia, which would be Yemen. He said he was from an independent Jewish state in East Africa, inhabited by the people, descendant of the lost tribes of Dan, Asher, Gad, and Naphtali.
There you go. That's what it
Sounds
is.
like it's Ethiopia.
It could. He claimed he was from there. They said he's from there. It was complicated. The sources say he was black. All right. I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Mordechai?
Sounds like the Falasha of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
East of Africa.
Yeah. Okay. So now, anyway, always interesting. So now we'll go on to the next Rashi. The next Rashi is in chapter 36. This is the best. This is one of my favorite verses in the whole Torah. We'll go back to verse 5 in chapter 36, verse 5. Vayomer el Moshe lemor. And the people said to Moses, Marbim ha'am lavi, the people have brought too much. The appeal was too successful. Midei avodah l'molacha, more than the labor of the work. Asher tziva Hashem lasot et. We have too much. Everybody was so excited to contribute. Can you imagine if there was a call today, contribute to the Beit HaMikdash? Can you imagine how much money they would raise? Billions. And that's what happened, right? You can't have a better fundraising appeal. Like, we have money for the Beit HaMikdash. Who's in? The Mashiach is here. Vayetzav Moshe and Moshe commanded, Vayaviru kol b'machaneh, they brought out a sound in the camp saying, Ish v'isha al yasu od melacha. Nobody should do any more work with Trumat HaKodesh. Stop doing any donations. Vayikalei amei avi. The people stopped. So that's what Rashi says. Yoter miktei tzorach avodah, there was too much. Mashal minyan, expression of restraint. It's too much. And the labor was too much. There was too much for people to do. Voter, and there was a surplus. Let's see what Rashi says. That there was a surplus. Rashi doesn't add anything to that. Now we go to chapter 37. This is a beautiful Rashi. I love this Rashi. Hello, Eliezer. Hello, Eliezer. This is one of my favorite Rashis in the whole Torah. The Rashis in Vayakhel are shorter, so we remember them. They're smaller.
Does
Jeff?
Rashi have to talk about the false Mashiach?
Eldad Adani?
Yeah.
I didn't say he was a false Mashiach. I said his Mashiach was never actualized. I don't think that Rashi ever mentions him. But when you talk about this, Shabtai Tzvi, a lot of people say, oh, he was the false Mashiach, false Mashiach, false Mashiach. Yes and no. First of all, probably so many rabbis, great rabbis, recognized him as the Mashiach. In fact, one of the most significant rabbis of that time, whose works to this day are the main commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, called the Taz, Reb David Alevi, he writes a letter to Shabtai Tzvi, and I'm saying the Taz is like authoritative. He writes a letter saying, and then you could Google me and get the exact thing. He says, I look forward to greeting the Melech HaMashiach. He called him the king. The Taz is like the Gadol Ador, the greatest rabbi of his generation. And he called him the Mashiach. So everybody then was very susceptible to being whipped into the frenzy of Messianism, because it's very attractive, very, very attractive. We have a lot of Messianic movements now. You want to know how you could tell if a movement is Messianic?
Like the Chabad movement?
Well, Chabad is dead. The Rebbe was very Messianic, but do you want to know how you could tell if a movement is Messianic? If they add the word now at the end of it, like peace now, it's a Messianic movement. What? Achshav, Shalom Achshav. Like the word now means Messianic now. We don't want to wait. So that's what Rabbi Weiss told me. Anyway, Vayaz Pitzal Mashiach now. Yeah,
Great.
Yeah,
The end
exactly.
sentence saying Alavai.
Right. Alavai means not Messianic. The opposite of Messianic means one day, whatever. Messianic means we want to do it right now. Right. Alavai means never. Okay. Vayaz Bitzal et Aaron atzei shitim u'masayim v'chitzi Yaakov v'ama v'chitzi Rachel v'ama v'chitzi komaso. And Bitzal made the ark. So why does it say Bitzal made the ark? Everybody did it. So this is the Rashi. Rashi says, Lefi, Rashi says, because he gave his heart to the work, Yoser Mishar Chachamim, more than all the other wise men, Nikreit al Shemo. It was called by his name. So it teaches us whoever is the most devoted to the task, to the spiritual task, is going to have the honor of it being called by their name. That means that whoever is the most devoted get the credit.
And Moshe said Betzel El Haita, right?
Betzel in the shadow of God. But I was thinking about the way Shoshana described her friend yesterday, who were studying in her name. She was the most devoted to the task of the Jewish people. That was her. Okay, so now we go to, beautiful. Next, Rashi is chapter 38, verse 7. Talking about the Luchot. What happened with the Luchot? Wow. Verse 7. And he brought the poles and the rings on the corners of the altar, and he gave them hollow panels. Nevuv Luchot. Okay, Nevuv means hollow, fine. But the next verse is one of the most controversial. Vayaz et hakior nechoshes, and Bezalel made the copper basin that kano nechoshes, and its pedestal is copper. B'marot hatzovot asher tzavu petach or moed, with the marot hatzovot that congregated at the entrance. So, what are these marot hatzovot? What does Rabbi Steinsaltz say before we get to Rashi? Anybody know what marot? What does Rabbi Steinsaltz say there? How does he translate it?
The actual translation,
Yeah,
the mirrors of the assembled,
the mirrors of the assembled.
women who assembled at the entrance of the tent meeting.
Yeah.
Tzaddik, that
So those are
tent meeting.
those are two separate things.
I just said tzaddik.
So,
That was my own, that wasn't Stein.
You didn't read it right. It says the mirrors of the assembled women.
so now he did two. So now it's two separate things. Those are two separate explanations, actually. That one is the mirrors, and then is that there are women who are assembling. So this idea, before we get to the Rashi, there's women who are assembling, reminds us of like this group. Some have speculated that there was a group of women. It's not Rashi. Rashi has a very powerful explanation, and we'll have to read that tomorrow. But some have speculated that there was this like class of women who were like the female. I don't want to say it but like the Jewish equivalent of nuns who were gathered there praying at the entrance to the tent.
They didn't marry.
And I'm just saying, like, they were holy women. That's what I'm trying to say. Not that they didn't marry.
Still got married.
The point is that there was like Kohanim were males, there were females who did their holy work. And that makes sense. Of course, there's always, women are religious like men are religious. So there was this group of people who were holy. Rashi gives a different explanation, but we have to stop here to pray. Let's
But the women did get married though.
we don't even know anything about these women. It's just a theory, but I assume they got married. But